So you could say, all right, there's a greater probability it's going to be men. It's going to be a white guy, 30 to 45 years of age. All right. I've done my own internal studies. These are just me doing my own little studies. I took, for a 2-year period, every offender that I caught, put the demographics, characteristics of them on paper to try to figure out, okay, nobody's done this before, maybe I can figure it out. I can solve the riddle. Right? I couldn't do it. Everybody had different things. There was a few things that weren't common, but there was always that abnormality. But there have been a couple women. Minorities. Caught minorities. Like I said, the greater chance is that it's going to be a white male, 30 to 45 years of age. Why? I don't know. That's just what it is. But then I always go back to the question of, well, I'm only catching the ones that are caught, right? So recruitment on social media is huge right now. Recruitment by people involved in sex trafficking and child exploitation crimes. Contact, friend requests, they groom the victims. Grooming is huge. And here's and they love to be told things that make them feel good. Right? Those of you in the audience that were young girls once. You love when somebody tells you you're beautiful. When they give you compliments. That makes a girl feel good. Right? Now, take a girl who is not very popular, struggles to make friends, is a little bit socially awkward, and doesn't fit in. And if all of a sudden some cats notice in and start pumping her ego and letting her know how beautiful she is, how he's going to be her boyfriend and things like that, that girl will latch onto that. She will latch onto that 100% because she's not getting it anywhere else. Right? Nobody else is telling her that stuff. Nobody else is making her feel included. And it happens all the time, and it's very, very easy for these people involved in sex trafficking. Same scenario for the child exploitation crimes. They meet up online, they tell them all the right things. Next thing you know, they're sending videos and pictures of themselves to this offender. Happens every day. We are way too busy in my line of work. Way too busy. I always say if you gave me 10 more agents, they'd be busy. There would be plates full of stuff to do, just because there's that much of the stuff going on. And then fraud. A lot of fraud. Has everybody got the email from the prince in Africa, or is that just me? So I always send my social and my bank account, and I never get any money back. Right? People do it though. People will send their information when they get these email scams or whatever have you. The IRS call you.
Oh my God, all the time.
All the time, right? They call my desk at the FBI saying that I haven't paid my taxes, and I better call them back urgently. And yeah, I send in, I call back. I call back, it never works. I still owe money at the end of the year. I can't figure it out. So, here's what happens on Instagram for friend requests. So I go out and I talk to a lot of kids at schools. And I ask them all, oh yeah, who's got Instagram? They all raise their hand. I say, all right, who's got, here, I'll try it in here, because some people raise their hand, right? For Instagram, who has more than 200 friends on Instagram? 200 followers. Yeah, 300. 400. 500. 1,000. 1,500.
Well, excuse me.
You guys are worse than the kids. 2,000. How many you got?
132,000.
Is it for a business though?
No.
You have 132,000.
113,000.
113,000.
Wow. Wow.
Do you have 113,000 real friends?
No. Yes.
How many do you have, sir? 28,000. Do you have 28,000 real friends? No. Okay. So that's the most I've ever heard. Like it really is. That's usually the kids are sometimes 3,000 or 4,000. That's a lot. So I'm going to use you in this example.
Oh, great.
Okay. Your name?
Morgan.
Morgan. Your name, sir?
Oz.
Oz. All right. So here's what happens in world of sex stuff. Okay. I'm an offender, and I'm looking to get pictures of girls likes naked, videos of girls naked, and they're 11, 12 years old. That's my goal, okay? So how I'm gonna do it is, I'm gonna send different friend requests to different circles of friends and get them to accept my requests, and then I'm gonna go to DM with them. I'm gonna direct message them, all right? So, I find Oz from, what's your name? Yep. You're right there, I'm pointing at you. Come on, don't leave me hanging. Alright, so say I saw Leo and I sent him a friend request, and Leo does what 99.9% of what kids do and what Morgan does, and accepts my request. Alright, and he doesn't really know me. He just sees my page and he's like, oh, the dude's cool, he has a Porsche on his page or whatever, right? So he accepts me. You're friends with Oz. So now I see Oz is on your page, and I send a friend request to Oz. Oz does what 99% of kids do, sees that I'm friends with you, and automatically assumes, oh, I must know him. So he accepts me. Then I get on Oz's page and start looking through his friends. I see, oh my gosh, he's friends with Morgan. Morgan's what I want. That's what I've been looking for. I used you two to find her. I sent a friend request to Morgan. If Morgan was doing what she's supposed to be doing, she would at least look to see that I'm friends with Oz, but she just accepts anybody's request, right? So let's say she looked. Let's say she looked back, she saw he's friends with Oz, and I know Oz, so I'm going to be friends with him, right? Mission accomplished. It's like the 7 steps of Kevin Bacon game. Everybody remember that game? I just did it 3 steps. I went Leo, Oz, now I'm Morgan. So now I go DM with Morgan, and let's say, sorry Morgan, but that's too many friends I gotta pick on. Alright? So let's say Morgan is one of those girls that I talked about. That maybe she doesn't have good family structure, she feels depressed, she's having a rough life, she's trying to make up for it with all these friends on Instagram, and not true, I'm just using this example. I start to tell her the things she wants to hear. She likes it. Then after I've groomed her enough, and I have her to trust me, she starts to send me what I want. She sends me the pictures and videos that I want. And she's not going to tell anybody, because I'm telling her everything she wants to hear, right? I'm her boyfriend. I'm her Casanova that's going to come in. And I may be a 60-year-old dude with pictures of an 18-year-old on my Instagram page. She doesn't know that. It's called catfishing. I'm going to get to it in a couple minutes here. Oz is laughing. Have I met you before?
I think we have.
I think I've met you before.
Yeah, I think you came to our organization.
Coral Gamers, right? Yep. I have one of these weird, my wife makes fun of me, I have one of these weird photographic memories, right? I can't remember her names, that's why I'm struggling right now. Leo Osborne. I'm playing a game, right? But a face, I'll remember a face. Alright, and I get sidetracked too a lot, I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay on. Where am I? Alright. So we talked about that, but good. Everybody understand that, how they kind of make the connections? Because kids don't check. Kids just accept friend requests like this. If they get a friend request, they won't accept it. Because what they want to do is they want to build up their numbers. Right? They want to say, oh, I have 1,000 followers, or I have whatever. And at the end, I'm going to tell you some rules that I try to tell kids, my kids especially. In fact, my older daughter doesn't even have social media. She's 14, doesn't have social media, and she's the most popular girl in school. Figure that one out, right? I'll tell you how I did it. Still got a ways to go. She's only 14. She's almost 15. I got a ways to go. Okay, so the levels of offender. These are kind of how I've put the levels of offender. Remember, I said a lot of stuff is my experiences and opinions and how I've kind of come up with it in my head of how it works. Because I've seen it, right? I've done it over and over and over again. And I've done these interviews over and over and over again. So I see the same thing, and I kind of classify them as this. Collectors, traders, enticement, and producer. Those are the 4 categories that I try to put somebody in when I'm interviewing them. And I'm trying to figure out what kind of offender is this? Where does he fit into my little scale here, right? No rhyme or reason. I'm not that smart. I went to college and played football. That's how I got in, all right? I'm a listener. So this is how I kind of try to put it in my head. So, collector. Private person. Does it at his house. Nobody knows about it. In fact, all these categories, this is the deepest, darkest secret that somebody has that they don't want anybody to find out, except their victims. They don't want anybody to find this stuff out, right? So So talking to them, you're trying to pry out that deep, dark secret that they don't want anybody to know about. It's like when you're a kid and you get caught doing something. You get flushed. You get nervous. You know what you did. Your heart starts racing, right? But you're not going to give it up. Most of the time, these guys do. It just takes a little while. They'll give it up. They just want a friend. I'm a friendly guy. Right, Morgan? I'm not that mean. So, begins with an interest into children. I heard a guy once said, he said, hey, when I was 12, I liked 12-year-old girls. When I was 13, I liked 12-year-old girls. When I was 20, I liked 12-year-old girls. When I was 30, I liked 12-year-old girls. He never grew out of it. That's how he explained it to me. Because there's really no explanation for this. Anybody in the room have it? Why they do it? But that's the clearest explanation I've ever got from somebody. When they said, yeah, when I was 12, man, I liked other 12-year-olds just like everybody else. And then I just never outgrew that. And I always had a sexual attraction to 12-year-olds. I don't know. That's it, right? So that's how it begins for a collector. Then the curiosity becomes an addiction. They all say the same thing. Man, I did it because it was a rush. I knew it was illegal. You know, something about it. It was just like a curiosity. I wanted to see it. And when I'm talking about seeing it, I'm talking about child pornography. And child pornography is something that, these are pictures and images of children being sexually abused. This isn't bathtub photos. This isn't a 17-year-old that looks 18. These are stuff that will make you throw up, right? So this is something that people don't just stumble across. This is something people are really, really looking for, right? So that becomes an addiction where they have to have it, they get rid of it. They get more, they get rid of it. They get more, they get rid of it. It's an addiction. It's almost like a drug, right? You get the drug, they use it, they get that high, and they got to get more of it eventually. They try to wean themselves off of it, and they come right back to it. It's an addiction. So there's the leaders, and there's sophisticated. I just rationalize those as the people that have it, and they get rid of it, and they feel really guilty about it. And they struggle with some time, or maybe a month goes by, a couple weeks, whatever the time frame is, and then they get some more. Right? And then there's sophisticated people that collect it, organize it, keep it, safeguard it, hide it up, lock it. They don't want anybody else finding it. Right. Just a few images. Collector's house, nice and neat, just like everyone in here. All right. So the traders, they're still anonymous. They still don't want anybody to know about what they're doing. But sometimes they'll meet in person. They'll meet other traders in person, and they'll trade stuff. I've seen that happen. Sometimes they'll trade online and they'll want to remain anonymous online. They'll still trade. They may cause production of somebody. These would be the guys that are online with the Instagram. They get to the girl and then they cause that production to be made. They're kind of inching their way towards the production, the producer, which is the next slide. And then this is a severe problem right now because of the increasing technology. Everything's so fast, right? Who remembers when you tried to get on the internet? Late 90s, early 2000s, excuse me, and you had to yell in the house, nobody pick up the phone, right? And then you had to click the button and you had to wait. Does anybody remember that? All right, the millennials don't, they're like, what are you talking about? But nowadays, everybody in here can get on the internet right now. We can just start downloading movies, streaming Netflix, doing whatever we want. Everybody can do it so fast, it's so quick. Okay, so that issue of technology has also created a problem with child pornography. All right, I'm going to so some pins are going to drop. So this is just on a random day for 240 minutes. What is that, 4 hours? Okay, so for 4 hours, law enforcement knew this many people were trading child pornography in the United States. Every pin that drops is a different person trading child pornography in a 4-hour period.
Are they getting away with it?
Yeah. Yeah. And here's why. There's not enough law enforcement for all these pins dropping. We'll try to catch as many as we can, but we're outnumbered. You'll see them drop. We'll drop. Where'd my mouse go?
Texas.
Texas. Everybody's starting to, oh, at least I live in Texas. Right? So I'm just going to kind of fast forward throughout. The different colors are just different platforms that they're on. So I'll zoom in and kind of see more pin drops.
Where's Florida?
Florida's a state down here, Oz. We'll talk later. Alright, we'll keep fast forward. So get to kind of the end. So you can see that the problem is overwhelming, right? So these would be the distributors and the collectors that I talked about. Alright. More pins, more pins, more pins. It just keeps going. Different colors are different platforms they're on trying to trade the child pornography. I can't talk about too much of what's going on there, but just to give you an idea of how much of a problem it is. So then we move to enticement. Everybody know what the word enticement is? Kind of know what it is. You've seen it. I'll show you a video. Somebody's raised their hand. Somebody's telling me to go sit down. Why are you telling me to go sit down? She's done. All right. So these are the ones that they start with the collector, and then they want to meet somebody. All right. They want to meet a kid in real life and have sex with them. All right. These are the guys that have really gotten to the next step, and they're offenders that are actually out there offending against children. Sometimes there's a trafficking aspect to it. The grooming is huge in this category. From the guys that I've talked to, this isn't something that they decide on Monday. Hey, you know what? I'm going to meet a 13-year-old girl, and I'm going to have sex with her Tuesday. It doesn't happen that way, right? This is something that could take weeks, months, even years, I've seen, where they've groomed not only the child, but the family. All right? So keep that in mind as a parent. A lot of these cases where I've had these guys that have groomed several families, several kids at once, the families tell me that reaction, the reaction I gave you earlier, the second one, the disbelief. No way, you got the wrong guy. Law enforcement has the wrong guy. Because in their minds, they've been completely caught off guard and tricked by these people. They're con artists, is what they are. Does anybody remember this show? Yeah, Oz, man, we're on point tonight. It's the beard, right? Yeah. Everybody remember Catch Predator? Has anybody seen this show?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
The mouse. There we go. There we are.
If you have a teenager at home, you know they can spend hours chatting online. But do you know who they're chatting with? Well, last month we brought you a Dateline hidden camera investigation into what experts say is a frightening and growing problem. Online sexual predators, adults targeting children. The story got a tremendous response from parents, and now there's some new information about some of the men caught by our cameras. Chris Hansen has a preview of a special hour coming up a week from tonight.
During our investigation, there was a parade of men showing up at this house. 19 in 3 days arrived after making a date online with a person posing as a young teen.
Is she right here? No, I think we tried to get some on the way.
Once they saw me, some headed for the door. Others stayed, apparently believing I was the child's father or with law enforcement. None of them knew our hidden cameras were recording their every move. How's it going? Good. How you doing? This man, an army sergeant, not only tried to entice our decoy into having sex, he wanted to include a dog. What are you doing to get help?
See a psychiatrist.
Well, it doesn't look like it's working too well, is it? And perhaps more shocking than the number of men is who they are. This 54-year-old man is a special...
lawyers, and a lot of times scripted. All right, this is scary stuff. This is scary stuff. All right. Not only for me as an FBI agent, but as a parent, this is scary stuff out there. Yes, ma'am.
One question: these people are business people. They don't have like the other problem that the other one doesn't have their needs, or this one have both.
Both. Yeah. Yeah, both. Yeah. So a lot of these guys are opportunists. They'll do it just because the opportunity presents itself, and then some really plan out what they're going to do. If that makes any sense. So I've talked about the grooming, catfish. A couple people laughed. Hopefully they're not thinking of catfish. And then sextortion. Who knows what catfish is? I think there's a show for catfish too, right, Oz? Right. I put Oz in the audience now on purpose. He's like, if it gets dry, just look at Oz and Morgan. Morgan's actually paid too from the FBI. She's here helping us. Okay. So yeah, catfish. Easiest way to explain catfish, and I'm going to show you some case examples of it, is you pretend to be somebody else online to trick somebody into doing something. That's the easiest way to explain it. So more likely what happens is older male gets pictures of younger, more attractive male and uses that as the decoy to set up the victim. Does that make sense? 60-year-old dude sends his nude to a 14-year-old, she's going to freak out. If he sends nudes of an 18-year-old that he was able to acquire, now it's on another playing field. So that's what these people do. Nudes. Everybody heard that term? That's what the kids call it now. You know, unfortunately, sending nude pictures of yourself as kids has become very, very common. Very common. We get called to multiple schools all the time where the nudes have got out of control and everybody's sharing them around and it's gotten crazy. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like you get somebody's number and you text them, hey, how are you? Cool, send me a picture of yourself. They send it. It makes no sense to me, but that's where we're at in society. So, grooming. I've hit on these. I'm not going to spend too much more time. You know, they build this relationship. They try to get the trust of the other person because they want to create that bond. Secrets. Everything's a secret. Don't tell anybody. Not only will I get in trouble, but you're going to get in trouble too. Right? They want to make the victim feel that they're going to get in trouble if they tell, just as much as the offender himself. Stockholm Syndrome. Everybody's heard of that?
Yes.
That's my academia term for the night. Stockholm Syndrome. See that all the time, especially in the trafficking investigations. The most common misnomer in the trafficking investigations, people say, they could have left. Why didn't they leave? They could have got away from him. Everybody always says that. And I've had trials where the jury believes that, well, they weren't chained up, they weren't locked up, they left. They weren't a victim because they don't understand the mindset that these victims are in. Promises and threats. Promises is big. If you take, I've seen this a lot too, poverty-stricken youth with nothing, and somebody comes in and starts buying them clothes and giving them new shoes and taking them to get their nails done and all that kind of stuff that maybe the parents or single-parent family can't afford, well, the offender, this stock just went up, right? Because he can buy all this stuff, all this material stuff that kids want, and then he can get something back in return. This thing doesn't like it. Catfish we talked about. Victims of catfish rarely report, and the ones that rarely report are the boys. Boys don't report. Why not?
Embarrassing.
Embarrassing, right? What teenage boy wants to go to his parents and admit, hey, I got catfished, right? I thought I was talking to a girl, and it ended up being this older dude. They're not going to admit it. So boys very, very rarely will come forward and admit. It's not very difficult. I mean, we could get on right now and create a different profile under somebody's name, and Morgan would accept me. She's like, why did I raise my hand? Usually, catfish is only done for one purpose. Nobody catfishes for fun. It's always done because they want to get something that they shouldn't have. Sextortion is usually some form of catfish. It usually begins voluntarily, kind of gets out of control, and password sharing. So where I see sextortion the most with kids is On Monday, Billy and Sue are boyfriend-girlfriend, and they're going to be together forever. They're the love of their lives. Tuesday, they're done. Okay? But on Monday, she sent nudes of herself. And on Tuesday, Billy says, I don't care if we're broke up. I got nude pictures of you, and I want more, or I'm going to start sharing them with everybody. So Sue sends more because she doesn't want everybody to get her pictures. I see it that way, and then I see the catfish angle. When they get it through the catfisher will say, hey, I'm really not the 18-year-old guy, I'm a 60-year-old dude, but keep sending me pictures or I'm going to blast it all over your school because I know everything about you already. Very true, very easy to do. The password sharing, kids share their passwords. And I don't get this, and I tell my own kids, do not share your password with anybody because they can very easily get in. Pictures of anything. Picture of the chair, picture of this remote, picture of the balloons. Boom, there's my 3. Oz sends me back something, now we have a streak going. So on Snapchat, we'll get a little fire flame thing by our Snapchat.
Little fire.
Yeah, you see little fire.
That's just to say how would you
Right. And then Oz and I try to break the streaks, and we'll be at like 100 days. Man, we got a 100-day streak. And I'll take a picture of the water bottle and I'll write streaks on it and I'll send it to Oz. He'll send a picture of the wall back and he'll write streaks with lines. That's what the kids do. And I found that when my daughter got her phone taken away from her, she would have her friends log in to her account and keep her streaks going. That's how obsessed she was with the streaks. It's weird, right? I would never care about that. Now my son, he could care less. He doesn't care anything about, the only thing he cares about is FORTNITE. Has anybody heard of FORTNITE?
Yes.
Hey, you Oz? Yeah. Hey, I play FORTNITE too, I'm not going to lie. It's actually pretty fun. Okay? Alright, so 2 accounts, one is a catfish, one is real. Who can tell me which one is real? Because if you can't, we're hiring you right now.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, you're just guessing. Okay, they look the same, right?
One on the left.
They're almost identical. I don't even know which one is real, to be honest with you. But one of them is the catfish and one is real. So, one on the right, raise your hand. I can steal those pictures and put them on mine, right? Then I can go out and act like her, and I can get, in this case, young boys to send me naked pictures of themselves, thinking they're sending it to this cute girl that's a cheerleader and has all these pictures. Kids don't think anything of it, right? Oh, I'm sending a naked picture to another 14-year-old. She's cute. She's going to be my girlfriend, she says. This is awesome. Not so much. Then, if the clicker works, there goes the dramatic music. Ah, there it goes. Probably because I put some weird effect on it. Oh my gosh, you're not really talking to her, you're talking to this 22-year-old dude. Who then says, hey, I'm really a 22-year-old guy, yes, and I want you to send me more pictures or I'm going to release these pictures all over the internet, and I'm going to make Facebook pages and Instagram pages and put naked pictures up there and hope that they don't get taken down. Does that happen? Yes. Was Facebook and Instagram taken down? Yeah, most of the time. But it could be up there, and it could stay for hours, minutes, days, who knows. It's a very serious crime, and luckily, 139 years in prison. 139. So very serious crime, very serious penalties. That guy in particular had hundreds of victims all over the country that he was doing this to. Very manipulative, knew exactly what to say to elicit the pictures from the kids. So Snapchat messages disappear, right? Kind of, sort of. They used to. Now Snapchat changed a little bit. They can actually recover the stuff. They keep it. They can give it to law enforcement. I used to tell when kids would send stuff on Snapchat, they said, "Oh, I sent the naked picture because after 3 seconds it disappeared." I said, "Really? Okay. What if I held another phone, just like in this picture, if you can't see it? They send a picture on this phone, I got 3 seconds. That's plenty of time for me to hold up another phone and take a picture of the picture, right? Now I have it. I'm good, okay? So kids who do that on Snapchat, tell them, don't do that. Once you send a picture, do you control it anymore? No. It's gone. You no longer have control over that picture. Even if I send it to one person and I tell them, "Hey, no, dude, delete that, man. Delete that," right? They may have already sent it to 5 people, 10 people, whatever. And then it's a domino effect. The picture just gets out of control. You put something on the internet, you no longer control it. It's done. Right? Even if you have your page and you try to delete stuff off your Facebook page or whatever, there's actual sites and servers that record stuff on the internet. They're called caches. Anybody see that word?
Yes.
It's not a French food. It actually means something on the internet. It's a cache. All right? They're going to store all that stuff and you can go back. There's even a website, Wayback Time Machine or something like that. I don't know if that's, you type it in, you can say, "I want to look at the university's website from January of 2016. Boom, it'll pull it up. You can look at that stuff. So you can do it for any type of website, anything. So online victims. Any child, I've seen it all. The most popular kid in the school, the kid that nobody knows in the school. From that range. It could be anybody. There's not one type of victim that I've seen. I've seen it all across the board, whatever it's going to be. Boys, girls, ages. You wouldn't believe how young nowadays. Who has, well, I'll use my kid as an example. My youngest daughter is 7. She gets on the internet. Is that a shock to anyone? Right? 5-year-old can get on the internet, right? Who has, if you have a kid that's like 2 or 3 years old, they can probably pick up your phone and probably know your password, right? And they can probably unlock your phone and get on and play games or whatever, right? So the technology today and the kids, they pick it up so quick. I didn't realize my kids knew my password on my phone. Like I didn't know they knew it, they knew it. One day my 7-year-old was on my phone, I said, "How did you get it unlocked? I have the thumbprint." She said, "No, I watched you put your code in." You did? Man, this is incredible, right? But kids are quick, and they know electronics. So, here's my soapbox. I'm up on my soapbox now. And we were talking about this earlier. Communication is dying in our country. It really is, if you think about this, okay? Just think about this for a second. Just since I've come here, I've watched too, right? Everybody's on their phone at some point. Everybody wants to get on their phone and do something, right? It's a lot easier to send a text and an email than it is to call somebody or to have a face-to-face conversation, right? It's a lot less, who said that?
Hassle.
It's a hassle. It's a hassle, right? Okay. So there's this problem I see in our society where people are not able to communicate effectively. They can't carry on a face-to-face conversation because the way we've kind of evolved in a society. Everything's electronic. Everybody says, "Oh, text me, email me." Even email is kind of like an out trend that people don't do anymore, right? Text, send me a message, do this, do this. Does anybody have a house phone in here? I'm not preaching about to have a house phone. I'm just saying, like, 20 years ago, everybody had a house phone, nobody had a cell phone. 20 years ago, a cell phone, yeah, no, right? Nowadays, everybody has a cell phone, everybody's on it, everybody's doing this all the time, right? Next time you go to an airport, sit down and just watch for 10 minutes. Every single person will be on a phone. I guarantee it. There's a very, very small population, I'm not going to say an age, but they will not be on a cell phone, right? But for the most part, everybody's going to be on a cell phone, even when they walk. And then people are on their cell phone even when they don't have to be on their cell phone, just because they feel awkward, right? You go in a line, go into Starbucks, get in the line. If there's a long line, everybody will get their phone out. And if you just look behind them, you'll look on their, they're not even doing anything on their phone, they just have it out like this. You feel like awkward, right? Like you have to be on your phone. So anyway, so here's what I do at my house. My kids are the crazy schedules. My wife's a nurse, I'm an FBI agent, crazy schedules. All three of my kids play sports. We eat dinner at 8:30, 9 o'clock every night. Okay? The reason we do that, that's the only time when usually we're all at home and we can eat dinner. My wife cooks in one of those Instapot things. You ever have an Instapot? Yeah. Instapot and Crock-Pot. That's saved our lives. Okay? So, at 8:30, even though my kids have to be in bed by 9:30, at 8:30, we sit down, no electronics, and we eat dinner. Why? It's very, very important to my wife and I that we sit there and talk to our kids. And we have communication. And we don't let them play on their phones, and we don't play on our phones. Okay? Because I know a lot of times parents now will say, you can't be on your phone with their kid, but then they're on their phone. Okay? So, no electronics at the table. We sit there, we eat, and we make them have conversation. Make them have conversation. We ask them questions. And if you have kids in here, you ask them, what'd you do at school today? What do they say? Nothing, right? That doesn't go in my house. They say nothing, I say, nope. Let's start at 8 o'clock. What'd you do from 8 to 8:05? And I'll go through the whole day. So now they know when I ask them, what'd you do at school? They already have like a list in their head. Okay, well, in math class we did this, and oh, this kid fell at recess, and they'll make up the whole thing, right? My older daughter, she makes up an entire day. I swear what she's telling me is not what's happening in school. She's right? But we do that. We sit down and we have a conversation. I grew up that way. I ate dinner at a table with my parents, my siblings. We talked. There wasn't cell phones. We didn't have cell phones, so. But that's very important. I think that's something that, as parents, you know, it's kind of like a lost thing. Just having conversation, even if it's 10 minutes. I think I probably wrote this one. Who remembers this? Yeah. I saw somebody raising the roof. Somebody's like, can you read it? It says, some of you will never know how lit this place will be on Friday night. Yeah. Oz, remember that? I remember going in when there was a brand new movie and you rush over to that new release aisle and you're looking and they're all gone and you're like turning them over and then you're like, oh, maybe somebody put it behind the other movie. And you're like, oh. And then you run to the front, right? Because the front had all the recent rentals and you're waiting for people to turn to the box. You're like, go check the box, man. Go check the box. Blockbuster's gone. It's gone. Who remembers this? A beeper. Pager, right? Back phone. Alright? So, when I grew up, this was kind of the trend, right? Blockbuster, house phones. You know, we had certain rules we lived by. I remember when the pager came out. Alright? What else? Then there was this pager. Remember this one? Yeah. Not only is it see-through, it's color. Right? You're getting crazy with technology. Then we upped our game. You could put messages, like 32 characters. You know? I didn't get one of these until I was a cop, and I remember I was on the SWAT team, and we'd get like the address and where to go, whatever, and then they never had enough characters and it would cut off. So you'd be like, damn, what's the rest of the address? Where am I supposed to go? Like, I'll wait for another page, because you didn't have a cell phone. You just sat there waiting for the page to call. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, here we go. Alright. So when I was a kid, probably like some of you, here were the rules. Be home when the street lights are on. That's right. You're thirsty, there was no bottled water. I don't know whoever invented bottled water, but it was a terrific idea for them. All right. Now, porn. There was no internet. All right. My first experience with porn was, let's go to the 7-Eleven. Let's figure out which one of us looks the oldest. We're going to give you all our change, and you're going to walk in like you own the place. Go straight to that magazine in the black wrapper. You're going to grab it, and you're going to the front, and you're going to pay for it, right? That was porn when I was growing up. There was no internet. You couldn't Google stuff. There wasn't anything. It was that, or maybe you found your mom's JCPenney catalog and whatever. That's what you do. Right? People are laughing because they know. All right, but today, what is it? I talked about it. FORTNITE. It's fast. Everything's technology, right? Everybody can get their phone out. This is an iPhone 8 Plus, whatever the hell it is. 256 gigabytes. This is a computer. Okay? People say cell phones, but this is literally a computer. I can do anything on this. Anything that I don't even have to sit at a laptop. I can do anything on my phone, right? Everything's like this now. Porn included. Yeah? Kids want to find porn, they're going to find it. By accident, a lot of times. Ads. Okay? And our society has changed quite a bit too. Sex is a lot more of a common, relaxed thing than it used to be. Right? When you get that, you watch, I know several years ago there was a lot of issues with like shows on NBC and ABC and how they were, showing like half-nude people and things like that, right? That's just the way kind of society has changed. Is it wrong? I don't know. But so here's some of the things that kids have told me when they've gone down this path or they've become a victim of something. Some of the reasons they've told me that it happened. Awesome.
I have a question.
I don't have my pager anymore.
Concerning Fortnite, you know how people they interact with other players?
Yep.
And you don't know what age they are, where they're from. Have you ever come across like a case where I guess they are trying to get to children through like Xbox and talking?
Yep. Yeah. So I was going to talk about it at the end, but I'm going to talk about it now. I've had several cases where children were groomed online with their online gaming friend. Then it gets to the point where maybe they've played online with this person enough, they don't know how old they are, they don't know whatever, but the offender knows, right? They can tell the voice, they know this is a young, most time boy, playing games, and they get to the point where they tell them, hey, I'll use Fortnite as an example. Hey, you got money to add new skins, you got money to do this. Most kids, no, my parents won't give me any money for whatever. Hey, how about I load $20 into your PlayStation account so that you can buy that stuff? Okay, boom, they load 20 bucks in, right? Play, parents never know about it, right? Who knows how to check the PlayStation account? Very few people, right? You say you do. I do because it hits my credit card all the time and I have to yell at my son, like, why are you buying stuff on Fortnite? And I'm like, oh wait, I bought that on Fortnite for my game too. Right? But that happens, and then it happens a couple more times, and then the offender will say, hey, can you take a picture of your penis and send it to me? Why? Hey man, I'll give you another $20 gift card. Kid thinking, all right, not a big deal, know this guy forever, boom, take a picture of your penis, send it, start to get gift cards, right? And then that starts it. That starts it. I've seen that multiple times. They're kids, right? Kids are very manipulative. You can trick a kid very easily. Right? Just like you could trick an adult, you can trick a kid. So these are what they say. My parents don't talk to me. I hear that all the time. My parents don't talk to me. They don't pay attention to me. I got to seek attention elsewhere. My parents don't show me affection. A lot of the trafficking victims will say, man, if I could have just had a hug every day, that would have been enough. Right? But they don't get that, so they have to go somewhere else to try to get that affection. My parents are too busy to listen. People are very, very busy nowadays. On their phones, they're doing their own thing. I saw somebody had posted on Facebook, I got you 1 second. Somebody had posted on Facebook last night, I didn't know it was one of the, somebody likes something and then you see it from 14 different people. And it was a kid that was in 2nd grade had written a little essay about an invention that the object was, hey, write about an invention you wish was never created. and he wrote cell phone. My parents ignore me and are always on their cell phone. It was written in like kid words. I'm just telling you. Cell phone, I hate the cell phone. Who invented the cell phone? He had drawn a picture of the cell phone and crossed it out. It's true. And people don't see it. I was at a restaurant in, I don't know what city it was, a couple years ago. And it was for work. And I remember I was sitting there with my partner and we were looking at this table. Both parents were on their phone. The two kids that were probably under the age of 5 were on their tablets for the entire hour-long meal. All in electronics. No eye contact, no communication, just on the electronics the whole time. I was like, man, are they ordering, like texting their ordering? Like they don't even look at the waiter when the waiter flips over. My parents won't understand. I'm gonna get your question sooner. And my parents will blame me, right? I tell my kids, if something happens and you tell me and you're honest, that's all I want, right? We'll deal with everything else later. Because too many kids are scared that the parents are going to say, this was your fault. This was your fault, you're a victim. Right? Yes, ma'am.
Your personal opinion, when is the best age to talk to them about this type of material?
8.
8? How about if they're not an 8-year-old at their level?
Actually, let me give you a better answer. Okay? So, every kid is different. And I can't say that 8 is a hard fast rule. I was just thinking in my head with my kids, right? Every kid is different. My 14-year-old is 30 years old. She looks and acts like a 30-year-old woman.
She knows.
Okay? Looks like a 30-year-old woman, almost. I told you, it's scary. This is scary. Okay? My son is a lot more mature than his age as well. My 7-year-old, not so much. I haven't even thought about having a conversation with her about it because she's a lot more immature. My older daughter, when she was her age, very mature. Definitely had the conversation. So I think parents have to read and gauge their own children to make that decision because they know their kids better than anybody else. And I can't stand here and say, yes, at this age you have to do it or whatever. So I think you have to, as a parent, know your own kids and be able to figure it out.
But wait a minute, I'm sorry. Cutting somebody off?
No, you weren't orange shirt, man. Go. And you laugh at my jokes.
Oh my God, microphone. Hey there.
Oz, did we approve this?
So you're talking about if the child is immature, then you want to hold off on it. But at the same time, some of these immature children, they're out there, out of our purview or out of our range. We can't control what's happening. So wouldn't a predator take advantage of children that are immature as well?
So yes, that's a great point. Oh, who's helping me over here? Somebody's helping me. So I would say that when you're gauging your own child as their maturity level, also what are they doing? What is their exposure? Do they have some sort of tablet or online communication to communicate online? Now, stranger danger and stuff in real life, you should be telling your kids that from age 2, or as soon as they're able to kind of understand that kind of stuff. But I'm just talking about online stuff. So if a child is very immature but they're online, maybe that ups their maturity level where you need to have that conversation. Does that make sense?
My question is, what were the crime rates like 20 years back? Because, for example, I'm not a mom, but when in the future, hopefully. The only positive thing about my young child, 7-year-old, having a cell phone is because, for example, everybody nowadays they are constantly in a hamster wheel. So you want to know if your kid got home or they're in a friend's house, if they're okay. I mean, there's so many things going on. Then that's the only positive thing that I would be like, okay, here's a cell phone, just so you could get in contact with it, just so for my own peace of mind. So I was wondering, 20 years ago when kids didn't have access to cell phones or a computer or internet, what were the crime rates?
So I would say that
it
was less. Yeah. It was less, and it, obviously because online victims have skyrocketed with technology, right? Before cell phones, before internet, these crimes didn't exist. Child pornography in its infancy was printed out pictures, newsgroup type stuff. You couldn't get it online. It wasn't quick like that. So I would say it's skyrocketed with technology. And then I see where you're going with the other question, and I'll get to it in a minute because I think I know where you're going. Yeah.
I just wanted to make a comment in regards to the age that's appropriate for having a conversation to your children. I think it's also important to take into consideration when they go to school and who their friends are and who they're interacting with, because even though your child might not be mature enough to have a conversation with, someone else at school who's more mature or might even be already exposed to that environment might bring that to your child. So you just have to be aware of who they're, having conversations with, talking to, hanging out with, and also being visible at their school.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so I don't have all the answers, but go back to my dinner, right? At dinner, those are going to be some of the questions I'm asking them. Hey, who do you sit by in class? It's harder when they get older when they're moving class to class, right? But my 7-year-old is perfect. Who do you sit by in class? She tells me their names. I'll ask her questions. Oh, what's that person like to talk about? What's that person like to talk about, right? Hoping that they may elicit like, oh, well, actually Johnny sits next to me and was talking about his penis. Okay? Then I would know, all right, this is a good time to have that conversation with her, So just asking questions to your kids and then trying to elicit the information back can help you gauge what they're hearing at school, right? What they're hearing, because I'm telling you, parents put blinders up. You will not believe the kind of conversations kids are having nowadays. Younger kids, right? Conversations that I had growing up as maybe a 16-year-old is now like a 10-year-old conversation. So conversations when I was 10 are now happening at like 8, 7-ish, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you just got to be, if you're not in tune and communicating with your kids, you're going to lose. You're going to lose, right? And I'm going to talk about some electronic stuff because people think, oh man, if I just spy on my kids, that I'll control it. And that is the worst thing you can do. I say, if you're to the point where you're now spying, trying to catch them, you haven't done anything to prevent or to teach them how to protect themselves, right? How to protect themselves online. Yes? Yes?
I have a question. You said that
They make everybody have the mic. FBI's actually recording everybody, and we're dumping your phones as you speak, so don't turn off the Wi-Fi, please. Go ahead.
Okay, my question is, you said that your older daughter, she doesn't have any media, any social media.
Yep.
So she doesn't have Facebook. I have my phone with my son, he's 9 years old, and I was leaving him just watch one of the YouTubers, and then one day I caught him like knowing a lot about guns. I'm like, how is it that you know a lot about guns if you just watch this guy playing other games? And then I just took away YouTube until you become a teenager, whatever, just to say something. But I'm not so sure if that's a good thing. Like taking away the way that this new generation is communicating, or really it's a good thing that I just don't want him to have Facebook, Instagram, not even a phone until he's like, even a phone that you can just call and that's it, you don't have internet. But at the same time, I don't know if I'm doing good. This is just like a personal opinion.
Yeah. That's a good question, because you don't want to just have that boy in a bubble mentality where you say, like, I'm just going to hide everything from them. And then next thing you know, they grow up and they're 18 and you send them out in the real world and they're like, oh my God, what is this stuff? Right? There's a term, helicopter parent. Everybody heard of that? Yeah. I think our society really has placated to that, where parents want to control everything and do everything. I see this with my own kids. They'll be working on a project, and I do not do my kids' projects. And my wife, forget about it. She's not doing anything. And these kids will come in and, oh man, you should have seen so-and-so's project, man. Their mom knocked it out of the park. Like, I didn't even spell the thing right. And I'm like, yeah, but you did it yourself, right? So you're going to learn as you get older. You do your own work. When that kid goes to college, he's going to be hurt, right? Because his mom's not going to be there to do everything. I think it's the same thing with that. Like, so my daughter lost her social media because she got in trouble, and she was abusing social media. She wasn't using it appropriately, so I took it away. She had to earn it back. She earned it back a couple times, lost it. Earned it back, lost it. Eventually got to the point where I said, you're done. You're not going to get it back, right? So a month goes by. I say, okay, you can reopen your Instagram page, whatever. And she said, you know what, Dad? I don't want to. I said, what do you mean you don't want to? She's like, it's all just a bunch of crap anyway. She's like, everybody's DMing stuff, talking about this person, Snapchat. She's like, why am I doing the streaks? This is stupid. Like, a light bulb finally went on in her head and she got it. And she said, I don't really want it. It's too much work. And I said, okay. And that was a year ago. She hasn't asked for it since. She doesn't care. I'm happy with it, right? But she still is connected. She still has a phone. She says she gets made fun of because she's the only kid that sends text messages. So her friends will say, why are you texting me? Now it's got to the point where they all know she's a texter. I'll just text back and forth with her because she's not on Snapchat or whatever. And she's fine with that. So if you want to go back to social media, you're almost 15 years old. You can make that decision, right? But she chooses not to, so that's fine. Yes, ma'am.
A lot of these kids will end up in our practice because as a mental counselors, we're going to face them. And we believe that we need to give them this advice as a parents, as a parent does, or we need to go straight to the parents and communicate them what's going on.
So you're talking if you're a mental health counselor.
As a counselor, because we're gonna see a lot of these. A lot of times the kids they trust on you and they're gonna tell you what's going on, but not for the parents.
Right.
So we're gonna face a lot of this problem.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know what your guys' code of ethics is, if you're supposed to tell the parents or anything like that. But yeah,
they're minors.
You have to tell the parents.
I mean, depending on what they're telling you.
Right.
If it's something
where somebody's in danger or something like that. Yeah.
But sometimes it's not dangerous. Sometimes
Sometimes
not dangerous as the predators, but you know the problems that you comments in high schools or sometimes the.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I can chime in if anybody's interested. I checked out, not unlike yourself momentarily, so I didn't hear the full roll-on of your statement. But the translation was, if a child is experiencing some significant conflicts with other peers and discloses to therapy, you have to assess first and foremost if the child is at risk. Once you assess for risk, then at that point in time, you have to then break confidentiality with the parents and ensure that that child's safety is held first and foremost. Moreover, you might want to also sign a release information and invite the school officials into conversation, school counselors and so forth. Because if that child is experiencing some interpeer conflicts, chances are there's another child that's experiencing the same.
What she said. Yes.
From the other side, when you were talking about the grooming, I don't know the terms because you were fast over them, but about the grooming and the person that grooms the parents as well and becomes in the family a member or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of unpreventable. Like, how do you stop that? The cyber, the media, I don't know if I'd be able to do it, but I get it. Like,
so, you're not going to like this answer, right? But your gut.
Yeah, look at the guy from the
I tell people all the time, if you listen to your gut, does everybody know what that means? If you listen to your gut a lot of times and something doesn't feel right, you just can't quite place it, listen to your gut. I know that's a weird answer, but I use my gut all the time about people. Well, I'm trained, but I'm also a human being, just like everybody in here. So when you have that gut instinct that something's not right, and it's not always preventable, right? It's not. You can't prevent everything, otherwise the world would be a very, very magical place. Like that. Remember that movie with the balls that came out from the ladies in the gel, and they read it, and they knew what crime was going to commit before it got committed.
Minority Report.
Minority Report. With Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny movie.
Yeah, it would be like that, right? but it's not.
I feel like it just goes back to communication with your kids. Because
Absolutely.
like I said, like the Olympics guy, the doctor of the Olympics, or the gymnast, that they obviously got molested and they were close to the family.
If you don't remember anything else I said tonight, other than I was the funniest person you've ever met, remember the communication thing. You have to communicate with your kids. Some of the things, have open dialogue, give them a hug. These are very simple things, but if you do this, I guarantee it's going to make your life so much easier as a parent. Structure time in your day to listen to them. Ours is at night when we eat dinner. That's the time of day we talk to our kids. Ask them questions. Show them support. And keep the phones in a common area at night. That's another one. Your kids go to bed, keep the phones in the kitchen. Don't let them take the phone to the bedroom. That's when the bad stuff's going to happen. All right? Keep them on a charger in the kitchen. That's what we do at our house. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to add on or tag on to the question about the gut instinct that you were talking about. I'm also a licensed mental health counselor and a clinical supervisor. That comes up a lot with families when one of my specialties is working with children that have been sexually abused and with their parents. And something that comes up, a lot of the parents say, you know, they had no idea that that person was grooming their child for sexual abuse. So what we like to remind them of is, you know, that gut, and remind them that them fighting that gut instinct is part of the grooming as well. Because they've been, you know, that person's so nice and so kind and always there to help you, or they're the kind neighbor that helps out, or whatever, you know the person in person. They do such a good job at making you feel bad if you think bad of them. But I remind families a lot that as soon as your child is involved and it's any drop of a question that I'm not sure if I like this, then that should be your answer to say, we're not letting this happen, or we're, you know, I'm going to pull my kid out of this, or what have you. Even if you feel like I'm going to look stupid if I overreacted, it's better to err on the side of overreacting than to underreact and then have a big problem to deal with.
Yeah, good point. We're getting there. What else I got? So I've talked about all these, not put too much information. Once you send stuff, you no longer control it online. Don't fill out information to win free stuff, nothing's free. Fraud stuff we talked about, the email scams. These are things you should be telling your kids too. Like, hey, if you get a weird text with a link, don't click on it. You get an email, you don't know who it's from. We really do not have a relative that's a prince. Like, you should be teaching your kids. I know people are laughing, but teach your kids about the fraud stuff too, because how easy is it for your kid to walk over to your purse or wallet, pull out the credit card, and give that number, thinking they're going to get something that they're really not. It can happen. These are my 3 internet rules I tell every kid. These are the 3 rules that I have found that make the most sense. Sorry, she's waving me out of the way. She wants a picture. Don't be friends online if you don't know the person in real life. Okay? Going back to when I used Oz and Morgan and Leo, right? Man, I'm glad I remember that name. Morgan's easy because I keep picking on her. If you don't know the person in real life, don't be friends with them online. There's no reason they should be, seeing your stuff, having access to things and photos. So I tell kids that. Number 2, don't send or post anything you wouldn't say to someone's face or you would show their mother. Okay, this is going to eliminate the nudes, right? Nobody's going to show nudes to somebody else's mom, so therefore they're not going to send them to somebody else. That's number 2. And then number 3, this goes to that gut feeling. Something weird happens on the internet, tell your parents. I put weird in quotations because weird is different in every family. Okay? Something that my kids may say is weird, somebody else's kids may not say that's weird. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if something weird happens, tell a parent, tell somebody about it. Those are the 3 rules. I am number 1. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the judicial system? When you've gone through all this, you target the person or you caught the person in red-handed. My thoughts go back to even on the news this morning where they had someone go out to the school, grab a couple of children, and was trying to abduct the children. But this person has had history of trespassing, doing the serious things in the community before. He's been arrested several times, but yet he still has access to the community to do things over and over. What are your thoughts when you've gone through that extent of actually catching a person and they're going through the judicial system and they wind up doing the same thing again, or the judge let them off on community service or whatever.
So kind of re-offending?
Yeah, re-offending.
I'm probably the wrong person to ask, especially in this setting, but I'm going to be honest with you. Time and time again, I've caught registered sex offenders for the same crime that they committed the first time, got arrested, served time, rehabilitated, out in population again, and they commit the same crime. That's happened more than just once that I've dealt with, right? So, I don't know. Our society right now is becoming more and more liberal. And I'm not saying I'm a liberal or conservative, I'm just making an observation. People don't go to jail very long sometimes, and they're out. And I know the one you're talking about this morning, that's kind of a weird one. You don't see that a lot. You know, when I first heard it on, or I saw it on Facebook actually, I thought it was a joke. I actually clicked on the link to see what it was.
Did it do the same accusation or the same crime?
So the guy this morning he went to an elementary school when kids were getting dropped off, and he started to try to grab kids and take them.
But it has to be.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that often. I think he had a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think this was anything I've really talked about as far as like he was planning it or he had some sort of purpose or even really an opportunist. I think he was just,
mentally unstable.
Games we talked about. This is what I was going to get to, but I already got to it. Online talking. My rule with my son on the online gaming is if he doesn't know the kid in real life, he can't talk to him on the headset. With most games, you can see the other users at the top. So I know on his games the names of his friends. I know their handles. So I see that when I walk through and I see it on the TV, he's talking. I haven't had an issue with it with my own son, but it has been an issue, like I discussed earlier. We talk about this. Once you post stuff, it's there forever. Not going anywhere. Once you click, it will stick. Kind of like the seatbelt thing. The seatbelt thing.
You're going to take it.
Man, this thing is... There we go. Don't use passwords. We talked about that. Okay. I have like 3 more slides. Here's some tricks for you. I'm an iPhone guy. I like iPhones. I don't know why, but I'm going to show you tricks with an iPhone. If you have Android or something else, I'm sorry. If you have the bag phone, like in slide 12, please see me after this. Okay? You can actually turn on, if you have iPhones and your kids have iPhones, everything is synced to one iCloud account, right? Everybody has the same iTunes. Yes? If your kids have their own iTunes with credit cards, that you've lost. Okay? So everything comes through the same. You can actually turn on the photo stream for all the phones on the person who has the account, the main phone. You can turn the photo stream on. So that when your kids are taking pictures or getting pictures and saving the library, it's going to come to your phone too. Most kids don't know that this feature is on there. My daughter didn't. Boys were sending her pictures and they were coming to our phone. Luckily, it wasn't anything that was inappropriate. It was just pictures, right? And when I called her on it, she lied, but I had the proof on the phone. That was one of the times she got in trouble. So it does work. Photo stream, iCloud, you can find it. Find my iPhone. If you're not using this, you are missing the mark because this is the best thing Apple put on the phones, right? When I pull up my iPhone, I have 4 or 5 different devices that are registered. I can see where they're at all times, and we use it. My wife used it today, actually, after school. My daughter called, said, "Can I stay after school with some friends, and can you pick me up later?" She said, "Sure." First thing she did was she turned on Find My iPhone to see what she did after school. She saw that little dot, started walking down the street, right? She called her, "Where are you going?" "What do you mean, where are you going?" "Oh, well, can we walk down to the Silver place?" And she's like, "Yeah, why didn't you just ask me in the first place?" She's like, "Oh, I meant to," right? But the Find My iPhone works. I use it all the time just to see where they're at. My wife uses it on me. She'll say, "Hey, why are you at Miami Beach?" I'm like, "I'm at work. I'm all over the place. Am I supposed to call you every time I go somewhere?" So the funny thing is, on my car, if I plug in my iPhone on my car, it's one of those cars that has the screen that comes up and you can control it. For some reason that messes up the GPS, and if I plug it in, it always puts me out in the ocean somewhere. It's weird but cool at the same time, because she'll call and go, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm on a boat, I can't talk." She's like, "Shut up, you plug it in." Alright, so use that. It'll tell you exactly where it is. You can even zoom in if anybody's never used it. I can see what couch, pretty much in my house, where the kids are sitting. Back. There we go. So, the common questions, if we haven't already answered them, that I usually always get. Good? Now it won't work. Alright, what age should I buy my child a cell phone? We've kind of talked about this because it's all going to be different and dependent on your child and what you need a cell phone for. The lady that was up here brought up a good point earlier. She said, in today's technology, like, why wouldn't you want your kid to have a cell phone? Because you can get a hold of them, you can track them, you can find my phone. So use technology to your advantage, right? If you can get your kid a cell phone because maybe they walk home from school or you want to know where they're at, get them and use it for that. Use it to track them. Give them an option to call you or whatever, all right? Every kid's going to be different, whether you think they should have a phone, why do they need the phone. My son is in 5th grade and he just got a cell phone. And he's very mature, but he just didn't need a cell phone. The bus drops him off right in front of the house. My wife works from home. There's no reason for him to have a cell phone. He literally just walks in the house with his sister, right? So I got him a cell phone now because I want him to get used to carrying it around so when he goes to middle school next year, he's used to I don't want him to lose it, right? Because in middle school, he'll need the phone. He'll need to call or whatever. Hey, can I stay after? Can you pick me up here? He's changing classes, things like that. My older daughter's had a phone probably since she was in 3rd or 4th grade because we lived in a different house and she had to walk farther. So we wanted her to be able to call, hey, we're walking home. And so I could track the phone. My younger daughter, I don't know. I don't know when I'll give her a phone. She's asking now, but I gave her a play phone that doesn't work and she put her own numbers on it and thinks it's real. She lives in make-believe land half the day. I don't know where she comes from. How do I monitor my child's friends online? Here's what I used to do with my daughter. She doesn't have social media now, so I don't do it. I would pull up her account with her and I would just start asking, who's Susan? And I would see what she'd say. Oh, she's, I go, okay, you're lying. You lost it, right? If she didn't know the person in real life. So then we would go through. She would say, oh, no, Susan's in my English class. She sits in front. I talk to her, whatever. I'd look at the picture. Maybe I recognize some of the kids from being around, right? If I found people in there that she didn't know in real life, she lost her phone. That's what I did. Is that the perfect answer? I don't know. But it worked for me because, look, she doesn't even want social media anymore. So she probably got sick of me badgering her all the time and was like, it's not worth it. My dad's crazy. What can I buy to help monitor my child's internet activity? People ask me all the time. I don't know because I've never done it. You can buy stuff where you can track what they're looking at, whatever, but my opinion, and probably my opinion only, I'd rather prevent stuff than spy on them and try to catch them, you know? Like I don't want that aha moment, you know, where I caught you. I'd rather have the, hey, I've been telling you forever, don't do it, and you did it. Now you gotta face the consequences, okay? But that's a parenting style if you want to do it. There are apps and stuff out there you can put on their phones and do whatever. Or you just go old school, like with YouTube. You can pull up YouTube history and see what they're watching. You can pull up internet history, all that kind of stuff. Unless you get that French food cache, then it's going to be a problem. Is social media safe if used properly? Does everybody here use social media?
Yes.
Are you safe?
Yes.
Yep. Right? Just like a car. You can drive drunk and kill people with a car, but the majority of the population drives cars and never has a problem. So social media is the same thing. It's a tool. You use it right. You shouldn't have any issues. Oh, that's how you get a hold of me. If you don't have track my iPhone, you're not tracking me. That's it. That's all I got. Any more questions?
Question, I believe?
Yeah.
Just get the mic.
So what about the parents that are posting pictures of their children on their accounts and they have their location finder on? I've heard of situations where, let's say I take my child to the park and I take pictures of them and my location is on. So now a predator who's linked with me online can see that I go to that park with my child. It knows my child's name, and now they can approach them when I'm not paying attention and say, oh, Julie, for example.
Yeah.
Julie, I'm a friend of your mom's. I know, it's important that we are vigilant on what we're posting as well, because people know how to find our locations based off of our technology.
Yeah.
So is that something that you monitor as well?
So yeah, I would turn off your location services on all your apps. When you install a new app and it says, do you want location services on, hit no. Go through your apps on your phone and turn it off. I don't turn it on for anything, right? Because when you do take a picture, that's going to geolocate that you're there. Also, if you go back to only be friends with people you know in real life, you don't have to worry about a creeper that has access to your accounts. Like your Facebook, Instagram, make it private. You'd be surprised the amount of people that do not keep their stuff private, their Facebook pages and stuff. So that way people can get on it. Just make it all private, turn off the location services, that'll eliminate a lot of the problems, because these offenders are just going to go through until they find one that's unlocked, and that's the one they're going to go after. So if your stuff's locked and it's hard, they're going to bypass it.
Special Agent Fowler, on behalf of Barroso University, we'd like to publicly thank you for your time, your dedication to the community at large, and for really volunteering your time away from your family to help educate the general public. Thank you so much. And guests, thank you so much, and we hope to see you next year. Have a good night.